Welcome back to the Behind the Tea podcast with Rob and Kelly. So this is the final episode, I guess, of our three-part episode on the Scotties Tournament of Hearts. We're recording this on the Sunday right before the final game. So hopefully we'll come back to you next week to see if our predictions were correct. But at the moment, they seem like we've picked some good teams.
I'm shocked. We're right?
Actually, if you go back to our top three picks for the playoffs, I picked Alberta, Holman, and Einarson, which were the top three teams for the playoffs. And you came close, but you picked Jones as one of your picks, but she made the tie-breaking round.
Okay.
So we're pretty good there. And we both picked Holman for the final. So we still have a chance of being right there. It's going to be a repeat of last year's final, Team Einarson, Team Canada, versus Team Holman. So we'll see if Einarson can get the two-peat done.
Yes.
You sound so thrilled.
We're very tired. We've been watching curling all week long.
Oh, I'm all curled out. Good thing we have a week between the Scotties and the Brier, because I couldn't do a back-to-back.
I know, me neither. I never thought I'd say that. Maybe it's the fact that there's not much else going on in our lives with living through quarantine, but it's too much. I went for a walk in between games. I tried not to pay attention to the games too much just because I don't know. I find it, it's bad when you're tired watching sports, not playing sports, but watching.
I know. Well, luckily, I haven't actually been following that much during the week, or I've been following the scores, just kind of checking in periodically, but I haven't been watching the games. And it's kind of funny to say, but actually been really busy this week.
I know, me too.
Kind of weird thing to say, but I have my everyday 9 to 5 job, but I actually had things planned in the evening every day this week. So I was only able to catch the end of a game here or the start of a game.
Yeah,
and even the playoffs, I haven't been able to. I haven't watched a full game, which makes us really bad to then comment on curling. But
that's okay. I think we
always find
still have
stuff to talk.
Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to complain about too.
Oh, for sure. We're full of complaints. But before we get this episode started here, Rob, if you would let me, I would like to dedicate this episode to a couple people.
Okay.
I want to dedicate it to those families in Canada that support their local community, such as the Flanagans, the Kurzaks, the Pizzazz, and let's not forget about Sophie and Felipe. They do a lot of hard work there at Home Depot, and I think that they deserve a shout out.
You don't think they've had enough shout outs?
For all of those who, I guess, weren't watching on TSN, just giving them some extra love here.
Yes. Speaking of giving some love, I noticed you sent me a message this morning. You gave some love to a company that I never thought you would. Care to give me your review of your Tim Hortons this morning?
Mm-hmm. So last week we talked about the two Tim Hortons commercial where they came out with their third dark roast blend. So I sacrificed myself. I sacrificed my morning coffee to go out to Tim Hortons. And granted, it was a beautiful day out today, so
yes, it was.
Nice warm walk to the Tim Hortons. I got myself a medium dark roast coffee with a fruit explosion muffin. And I have to give, as much as I hate on Tim Hortons, I have to say I do like their muffins. They're really they're moist and they're fluffy. So I'll give them
that. No one cares about that, Kelly. It's all about the coffee.
So, okay. In all fairness, this dark roast blend is much better than the previous two blends. It was decent coffee. Would I pick this Timmy's dark roast versus a Starbucks?
The 2017 version?
Yes. But I mean, it's not as great as, let's say, a dark roast at Starbucks or even the McDonald's cafe, which I think is the best coffee for fast food chains. It was good. It did not taste like water, but I find it did have a little burnt aftertaste. Do you know? I don't know if you know what I mean, but
yeah, I don't like that.
Because dark roast, you're supposed to, you taste the coffee, it really tastes like coffee, right? And it's supposed to have this bold, obviously, like bold coffee taste, but some of them they taste like it's like the coffee beans were burnt a little bit,
Yeah.
if
No,
that makes
I've had
sense.
that before. I find that pretty gross.
Yeah, so it's better. Maybe next time I'll try with one milk in it. I find whenever I did that with Tim Hortons, it just made the coffee like super super sweet. So,
Hmm.
but it was a good $1.50 worth of coffee. Like it's not bad. If you were on a road trip and we had to stop at the side of the highway for coffee, like I would order the dark roast.
No, good to
But I
know.
think it ends there. Yeah.
But it ends there. You know what I
So
miss
they've
is
succeeded.
yeah, I miss rolling up the rim. That's
Right.
yeah. I mean, at least you could justify it with like, well, I'm trying to win a car here. But I guess that's not the most COVID friendly thing.
No, but remember back in our university days, I was really hooked on roll up the rim. Like I was buying a coffee every day, if not more.
That's right. I think we were all like keeping score of how often we had won a donut or something like that.
I had one year I did really bad and I think I only won one donut for the whole month. And then other years I won like a lot more, but I was really pissed. I think that was the last year I did it. I was like, Tim Hortons
Maybe
is
that's
missing me
part of your
this.
Tim Hortons aversion.
Maybe.
Maybe. So actually, well, Tim Hortons, it is completely curling related. Um, I guess though, to get to the Tournament of Hearts, oh, I know. I'm going to start with a trivia question. Okay.
Okay.
Let me throw this trivia question at you. Who is Rory Charles Graham?
I've never heard of them before.
Okay.
Should I know
You
who
want to
they
give
are?
me? It's one person. Person's name Rory Charles Graham. Should I give you some choices or?
Yeah, or a
Okay.
hint or like a
Okay.
direction.
Oh, I'll have to make this up. I
Like
haven't
were
thought of
they
it.
curler or are they
Well,
curling
that
commercial
might give it
related?
away. So let me just make up some choices here. Let's
Okay.
see. Rory Charles Graham. Okay. Um, A. I'll give you three choices: A, B, or C. A. The winningest curler from Newfoundland prior to Brad Gushu. B. Somebody from Gilmore Girls.
Okay.
Or C. Maybe this will give it away. Someone who is only human after all.
Is that the name of of the guy?
Yes.
What's his stage name? Like
Rag and
Ragged
Bone
Bones?
Man. Yeah, Rag and Bone Man.
Um,
But his real name is Rory Charles Graham, which when I just read that, I thought of Gilmore Girls because of the character
Rory
Rory
and
and
Lorelai.
Lauren Graham. But
Yeah. I liked your choice of most winningest person from Newfoundland,
I thought,
not
yeah, that
Brad
was,
Gushue. I was like, that's all right. I can get on board with
I
that.
know, until
But
I couldn't think of a good hint for the part C.
so to follow up on that, I have an existential question for you.
Okay.
So one thing that TSN loves to do is repeat the same commercials over and over at each break. So would you rather listen to Ragged Bone Man, I'm Only Human for the rest of the season of champions, or
Jump
the
out my
Hunter
window.
Brothers? Or the Hunter Brothers?
I'll go Hunter Brothers for sure because I am not a country music fan. I've said that on the podcast before, but I don't hate it. Whereas I've already said it before, but this I'm Only Human song was a song that I would always turn off whenever it came on my car radio, even before I
Oh
started
yeah.
seeing it 50 times a day. I've always hated that song. And
Mm.
yes, and so we kind of we acknowledged it last week, but I kind of feel the need to acknowledge it again now that I've seen it 35,000 times between last week and now, and I didn't even watch that much curling this week.
Yeah, do you find yourself like going through life and just kind of humming the song?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I'm just walking around my apartment by myself,
No, no, no.
and
Should put it on your Spotify
oh
playlist and
God, no. No, and I have to acknowledge this because we kind of just threw it out there last week that it was a pretty bad commercial, or just we have to talk
Mhm.
about curling commercials. And what I underestimated was the outrage that it would provoke in our listeners. A bunch of our listeners have let us know that this is the worst commercial ever.
It is.
There may have even been okay, well, there was. One of our listeners decided to share with me that they registered a formal complaint with Kruger. about. And I guess it wasn't that bad a question. The premise of our listener's complaint was because this listener forwarded me the email that he sent to Kruger, and it was just asking, where did you think it was a good idea to show a close up of like snot coming out of somebody's nose, going, "We all have snot. We all make a mess. We all go to the bathroom." And the baby with the dirty diapers, and
You mean people just seeing people do humanly things, on TV?
yeah, just kind of gross humanly things. Just that it
It's
was an
it's kind
interesting
of
question.
it's kind of funny that you mentioned that because I also I got some mail as well from another listener who also independently brought up this commercial. Except, sorry, except this time it wasn't the snot. It was the diaper, the dirty
Yeah, the
diaper.
diaper.
They were
Yeah,
not a That was, like, the last straw. Like, they can handle, some snot or some, like, burgers or, messy stuff here, but they draw the line at diaper, and you know what? I don't blame them. I do too. I don't have children, and I don't wanna see a messy diaper.
yeah. That too. At least it didn't say in the captions like, "We all have to change messy diapers" or something like that. Or
It's really
at least they kept
gross.
it to "We all go to the bathroom," or in a baby's case, like straight in the diaper. But
Did they get a response back from Kruger?
actually, yes. Would you like to hear
Oh,
Kruger's reply?
yes! Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Let me pull this out. So, thank you for taking the time to share your feedback regarding our latest advertising campaign for Kruger products. Kruger Products produces household paper products that we all use regularly. These products are used for functional purposes, like when we make a mess, have a cold, or go to the bathroom. We also use them when we experience real human emotions, such as when we cry, when we laugh, when we entertain. In this advertisement, we are showcasing that we are all human, unapologetically. I'm pretty sure that they've been getting a lot of those, and they're just
Mhm.
copy pasting this because this
But you
listener
know what?
replied to me to tell me, "Hey, by the way, they replied," and I was thinking, yeah, but I'm pretty sure they're replying that same generic thing to everybody.
Yeah. It sounds like a very PR approved mass email response. But you know
Yeah,
what? In response to Kruger, like, yes, we all know that these are human bodily functions and we need paper to clean that up. But just because it's there doesn't mean you have to like promote it?
no, and I've been thinking a lot about it this week because that's what. And I've been singing that damn song 24/7. But I think in Kruger's defense, first of all, we have to defend them. They've been sponsoring
Mhm.
curling for 40 years. But in their defense, and again, I say this with the preface that I know nothing about marketing, nothing about, well, really a lot,
Mhm.
that they have to market toilet paper and paper towels and things that are not
Okay.
particularly interesting. And they've always they found a way to do it in a way that I guess would retain your attention a little bit more. And the thing is that I want
Mhm.
to point out is that this was not designed for curling. This was an ad that I saw like last summer,
Yeah,
and I
it's a
saw it
very
once,
generic ad.
and it stuck with me because, again, for the hundredth time, I hate that song. But I saw it and I was going, okay, that's a more memorable commercial. It's a minute long and it's showing disgusting things. It's trying to register with you, which, when you think of it, I'm guessing is effective advertising. It was
Mhm.
never designed to be seen 1,000 times and to have people like, I feel like I know the people whose phlegm they're coughing out.
That's true. Like, I think it's the commercial seems that much worse just because we've seen it so many times. But then I also have to ask the following question. Like, when you go to the pharmacy to buy your paper towel, your toilet paper, or whatever else, like, do you buy according to the brand or do you buy whatever's on sale that week? Because we all know every week there's a sale and they just rotate brands, right? So, do you really care that it's are you gonna be like, "Oh, Kruger products, I saw their commercial, I wanna buy that because clearly they're really good at cleaning up messy diapers." Or are you gonna be, "That one is on sale for $4.99 versus the $9.99 retail price."
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe it's just me and I'm just cheap with my toilet paper, but I usually go. I mean, there's let's say there's two different levels of toilet paper, the really cheap ones that you find in public bathrooms, and then your standard like Cottonelle, Cashmere, President's Choice. They're all relatively the same, right? So
I
maybe I'm just like too cheap for my toilet paper, but I get what's on sale.
Which
Because
is
at the
fair
end of the
enough.
day, it's toilet paper.
That's it, and I don't know how much they can change with a marketing campaign. So, but in their defense, I think again it was not meant to be seen 20,000 times, and that's kind of the backlash that they're dealing with now. And really, like the guy with changing the baby's diaper, I've seen that guy more than I've seen my own family. For God's sake.
That's so sad. Uh,
So
all right. Well, we've
yeah,
talked about toilet paper for a good 10 minutes here.
it happens in every podcast. At some point, everyone talks about toilet paper. And by the way, just one other note, just to close the door on toilet paper, let's pretend that this ad campaign has a lot of success. Let's say that people just flock to the stores to buy their Kruger products after this. What a year for toilet paper. Can you
For
imagine?
sure. Now, if I don't know if Kruger is on the stock market, but that's the stock that you wanted to invest in at the end of 2019.
That's right. Tell that to your Quest Trade advisor.
Oh, great question. I had a note about here. Have you opened your Quest Trade account yet?
No, I'm not. Get your condescending bit over with.
Come on. Don't let
I
your
know.
money just sit in a checking account.
I know. Hope is not a plan.
Let's get into some more Scotties talk. So as we
Yes,
said,
actual curling.
we haven't actually been watching every game this week. And if you did, congratulations. Kudos to you. I don't know how you do it, but it's I don't know, it's been, I guess the general sentiment I have about this week is it's really obvious that the players have not been playing at all this year. I think the quality of curling hasn't been the best we've
Yeah.
seen at a Scotties, which is understandable, but at the same time, not. Like I think I mentioned last week, like it is a national championship, and uh, it's supposed to have the best teams in the country there. So you do like, even though they haven't played this year, you kind of do expect a certain level of play.
Yeah.
What's really noticeable is you can definitely tell who were the top teams and who was everybody else.
No, that's true. I actually thought it was not as bad. Well, it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. In the end, I know we joke about how we get a lot of our predictions wrong, but I mean, when we called Einerson, Homan, Jones, Alberta, I mean, are we really that surprised that a week later
Mm-mm.
here they are in the? So things played out the way we would expect, and the better teams, as they always do, rose to the top. But I will say this: it was closer than I thought it would be. A couple of the have-not provinces, as I like to call them, they did get in there and kind of mess things up a little bit. Like Sherry Anderson had a really good week and knocked off some big-name teams.
Mm-hmm.
There were a couple of surprises, and again, I know that like we always seem to default to New Brunswick. I know New Brunswick is never going to win a championship like this, but they did some damage this week. They knocked off, who was it? I'm looking at. Oh, they beat Sherry Anderson at one point. Oh
I
wait,
think the
that's
main
wrong.
thing,
Yeah, never mind.
I think the thing is like there was just a lack of consistency. Um,
Yes.
so there are a couple strong teams that were strong throughout the entire week, like Einerson. But even Holman, like she had some surprising upsets. I think there was one halfway through the week where she lost to, who did she lose to?
Oh yeah, to
Northwest
Northwest
Territories.
Territories.
And
Yeah.
that one was so, I didn't watch that game, but I was at work and checking the score every now and then, and I was like, wait, what? And at first I thought, oh, maybe there was an error because that has happened before where they put the scorer on the wrong team. And no, she lost. And yeah, so there's definitely a couple upsets of like teams that won that you wouldn't have expected, and vice versa. But
Right.
the one thing though I noticed, and I don't know if you have the same opinions, but I find the pools were not evenly distributed.
No, they weren't, and
Pool
that's one
A
of the.
was, and I think that's kind of what this kind of affected.
That's true.
It definitely benefited the teams that probably wouldn't have made the playoffs and obviously didn't. Um, but Pool B was there's Jennifer Jones, who finished at 9-3 in Pool B.
Hmm.
Clearly the dominant team in that pool, but still, you had Anderson, Sejal, and Fleury, all tied at 6-6, and like, yeah, they're okay, but I never would have put them as
Yeah, they had
playoff.
an easier path to the championship pool and with a better record. Um,
Exactly, compared to Pool A, where the top four teams were Holman, Einerson, Walker, and then wildcard 3, Peterson.
right.
So
And the reason for that, like we were saying last week, is it's not by last year's record; it's by their CT or CRTS, whatever it is, their points.
points.
So it's going to be an issue with the Briar too, because like Brad Gushu is not the top seed, even though we all
Mhm.
think he should be. He's the defending champion, and coming from Newfoundland, maybe he's actually curled a little bit. But well, actually, no, he's not played with his team. But it's yeah, I think the pools might not be this. Well, we I don't know, remember what they are.
Oh, for the men's, I have
Yeah,
some
they're
thoughts. We
already
can
out,
talk
but
about
we'll
the men.
talk about it later. But yeah, you
Um,
get pools that are not that well balanced.
well, the thing is, I wonder, like, did they have another like, the only other option would be to, what, send, like, a survey to all the teams? I know we've done this at our junior provincials where the teams, we just rank all the participating teams ourselves, and they kinda just take all the scores together,
I've always
and
liked that. I think that's the best way to do it. Just have the players vote on it, and you do it
yeah, but also
anonymously so that no one gets their feelings hurt.
that's true, but in that sense, it kinda all falls down onto player or team reputation versus if you follow the CRTC, then they actually had to, like, win something to get those points, but then again, this year is kind of special, and the CRTC points don't really mean anything because not everyone had a chance to play.
It's true, but I think people voting would have maybe split the pools a little bit more evenly. I think the other
Yeah.
thing is that Pool B would have been stronger. The thing is that it was, even though she made a tiebreaker, I'm going to say it was not a great week for Jennifer Jones.
Mm-mm.
Very shaky, I thought. Dropped a game to what am I looking at here? Uh, Dropped a game to Saskatchewan, which was pretty surprising. I think she should have dropped it.
Yeah.
She very nearly dropped one to New Brunswick, I believe, and to Chelsea Carey. Chelsea Carey, I thought as of this time a week ago, I think she started 2-0 or 3-0 or something. And I was like, here she goes. She's storming out of the gate. And then the wheels fell off for her.
Yeah.
Had she
You're
had a
like
really solid week, I mean, maybe Pool B is a little bit more even.
yeah. You're kinda like my non-curling friend who I had to explain to don't, count on the early games to, determine who the winner is gonna be because a lot of things can change.
That's right.
I think Jones definitely did not have the best performance of her career at the Scotties. At the same time, this may be controversial, but I kinda think that Jones's reign has ended. I think she's
It's
past her prime.
It's very possible. I mean, if we get any sense of normalcy in the next little while, that means hopefully we get the Olympics a year from now. And
Mhm.
so obviously that means this fall with the trials is crazy important. But if the trials don't work out for her, and I mean, I'll put Homan ahead of her now, I'll put Einerson ahead of her, and
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
potentially others too. It'll be very interesting to see what happens
Mhm.
with Jennifer. I think you may be right.
Yeah, like, she's still one of the best female curlers or, like, the best female team in Canada, but, like, just a couple years ago, you saw Jones and you're like, "You know what? Odds are she'll make it to the final," and now I'm not as confident in on betting on her.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to look into this week too much because really this has been a kind of a random week, let's be honest. But
Mhm.
inconsistent is, I think you said it best. It was an inconsistent week from a lot of them, and I really felt that with Jennifer Jones. I mean, she completely demolished Rachel Homan yesterday in the
Yeah.
championship
Well,
pool.
also, Homan had probably one of the worst games of.
It's true, but Jennifer and Caitlin put the
Oh, they
pressure
were
on there.
playing,
Like
yeah, for
they
sure.
gave them nothing to shoot at. But yeah, Rachel kind of threw that away herself.
Yeah, but then this morning, it was awful.
Yeah,
She also had a open double, although it wasn't the easiest double, but at least a good hit and roll to narrow Alberta down because Alberta was down 2-0, or not 2-0. They were down 2 points going into the last end.
Hmm.
and they were sitting 3 yellow in the rings, like 1
Yeah,
in the
that's
center
right.
and
Yeah.
then 2 off on the side, and so there was an open double there, or at least hit and roll, and then that would have forced Laura to do a hit for 3 or some anyways, Laura would have had to, like, throw her last rock, and Jones essentially threw it through the port. Like, it just rubbed off the left yellow, and
Yeah,
Laura
like she
scored
threw
3.
way too much weight, she said right away, and it never
Yeah.
came up, and she only rubbed it. It was never close to making the double, which was pretty surprising because there's no such thing as an easy double, especially in that context when you have to make it or you lose. Uh, I felt that double for somebody of Jennifer Jones's level was pretty makeable. I wouldn't trust
Yeah.
myself to make that, but she wasn't even close.
She's done that type of shot so many times, like, she's made harder shots to win. Um, even
Exactly.
just hitting the one and sticking, like, it's not ideal. It was still would have forced Laura to make her hit. She could have hit and rolled or something, you never know.
Exactly. And the other thing to keep in mind, yeah, the other thing to keep in mind was that like we were chatting this morning and I made some comment about because we were talking about the final and I said, well, I can tell you Alberta won't be in it because at the time that I sent you that, it was what 4-1 Manitoba. They had just stolen two. Uh, Walker had a draw for this is the Alberta Manitoba tiebreaker, and Alberta had a shot. I think it was just a draw, bite the four, and she didn't even hit the house. It wrecked and gave up a steal of two. And I figured, I know it's only 4-1. I know it's early, but you're playing Jennifer Jones. I mean, good luck to you.
Mhm.
But sure enough, the game got quite offensive after that. There were some missed shots by both teams still. And full credit to Alberta. They came back and then used it all up in that game because they sure didn't have it versus Einerson in the semi.
No, I have to say, speaking of inconsistency, I think Alberta was probably the most one of the most inconsistent teams. Like, they're definitely a strong team, but there are some games they just did not show up to it, and then there's other games where they completely dominated, and then there's others where they started off shaky and then did a comeback.
That's true. That's well said.
You never really knew what kind of Alberta team you were gonna get once they hit the ice, and fair enough, they
Yeah.
made it all the way to the semi, which congratulations. But they would have had 3 games today had they won that against, Einerson.
Can you imagine if, well, one of the things that I thought was disappointing was that when the championship pool first started, because again, I was really busy this week, I did not get to watch very much, but I got home from work on, I think, Friday afternoon or whatever the first day of the championship pool was. I turned on the TV and there were a bunch of really close games, all in the ninth or 10th end. And I remember looking at them going, whoa, this result is going to be unexpected. So is that one. So is that one. And it was really going to throw a wrench in the standings. And like Homan was about to lose and Jennifer Jones was about to lose or something. It was going to make it all really even. And then none of that ended up happening.
Mm.
Um, in one game, Quebec should have beaten Ontario, it looked like. And Rachel Homan made this really crazy shot just to send it to an extra, which she went on to steal. And so the standings really nearly got very, very close.
Mhm.
And but all that to say, can you imagine if Rachel Homan would have had to go through a 3-game day today to
Oof. And damn, girl is 8 months pregnant. Like,
you know, I bet I bet they're thrilled that there's no world championship.
oh my god, yeah. Well, she wouldn't have been able to play in
Yeah,
it.
no way, right?
Yeah. I remember I was listening to I don't remember what game it was, but anyways, they're kind of mentioning the pregnancy, and they're like talking about how they still had a grueling schedule, 2 games back to back, yada yada. And they're talking about her pregnancy and if she should take a break or like they should push a game or something. And I was just like, you know what? Like, okay, fair enough, you're pregnant and like that's a lot on your body, but you made the choice to play in this tournament. Like, you voluntarily played in this and you have to, pregnant or not, like you have to play the game just like everybody else. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to give her any sympathy for the fact that she's pregnant.
Yeah, I mean, like you knew what
Or
you were getting
you
involved
knew
in.
what you were signing up. It's not your first Scotties. You knew exactly what you were signing up for. So, like, I don't want to.
And I think the thing
I don't
is
want them to
that
use it as an excuse at all.
oh, I
Like,
know, yeah. And I mean, this is a bad thing to say. This is we're about to lose a lot of credibility here, Kelly. But Do they really care? Like they've got their trial spot sewn up. They're going to the trials. There's no worlds to play for. There's no fans. They've won this 3 times before. I mean, of course they care. Don't get me wrong, but do they
Mhm.
really care as much as some of the other teams?
Yeah, I mean, I guess well, okay, a couple of things. I think um this is the first time like they have a new player, Sarah Walker or Sarah is it
Wilkes,
Sarah Walker? Wilkes. Oh,
Wilkes.
too many W names here.
I know.
Sarah Wilkes. So the Scotties was actually like the first time that they really got to play as a team. Well, second, but they played like 5 ends together beforehand. So this is like the first opportunity for them to really play as a team and kind of gel on the ice. And then also I think there's a funding opportunity. If they win, you get
That is true.
money. So I think that's probably a little more of an incentive. Probably I don't know if their main goal was really to win, and I'm sure it was, but I think
And I bet
they were
actually,
more
yeah, the more I think of it, they've just lost 2 heartbreaking finals in a row.
mhm.
So they're probably going to be pretty excited to win tonight.
Yeah. Okay. Well, now that we're speaking about the Homan team, I also have another comment.
Okay.
Uh, okay, so you know how the big scandal of the year was that Lisa Weigel was kicked off Homan's team, and obviously, everyone wants to know why or like what the story is because we've gone through our fair share of team breakups, and there's always some story behind it.
Hmm.
But of course, like they've obviously been keeping it between them. Like it's true, it's not as much as we're curious and we want to know, they're not obligated to expose their dirty laundry to the entire world. So I understand that. But what's kind of funny is that obviously this question comes up, and in the Jones Homan game, they're kind of talking about it, but and you can tell that everyone wants to be like politically correct and not ruffle too many feathers. Um, but Vic was saying how like, well, Lisa Weigel is now playing with Jones, and they were talking about it as if like it always happens. It's so normal for teams and players to switch from team to team, which is true. But then he was like kind of comparing it to how Joanne Courtney she left Val Sweeting's team to complain with Homan, and of course there was probably some animosity there and whatnot, and they were kind of comparing the two, and I was just like, it's not exactly the same. Like, yes, players move from team to team pretty often, but it's not that often when high profile teams just like blindside a player.
Yes,
You
especially
know,
when that player is the
one of
the
the best
probably
leads.
arguably the top lead of all time,
Yeah.
and backed it up this week, by the way.
And in case any of our listeners don't know, the whole thing with Joanne Courtney is Holman actually called Joanne Courtney. And so Holman's second, Allison Krevicek,
Krivjazek or
Krivjavicek,
whatever.
or
Yeah.
there's a lot of pronunciations.
Yes.
She voluntarily left Holman's team.
Yes, they needed a player.
Yeah, she moved to Sweden. So Holman was like, who's the best sweeper we can get? So they called up Joanne, and Joanne said yes. And so Joanne left Val Sweeting's team. Like that, I feel is like a fair breakup. It's like well, it's not
Yeah,
mutual,
there
but
was a
like a
need,
player
but
decided like this is not working for me. I'm gonna move, and like that actually happens all the time.
yes.
But what doesn't happen all the time is, and again, we don't know like the ins and outs of what happened, but what we do know is that Lisa Weigel was asked to leave the team, and then Jones scooped her up.
Right. And when we talked about that like months ago, we were comparing it to the very famous Jennifer Jones dumping Kathy Overton Clapham. But the thing
Mhm.
is even though that was done in a very similar style, in that they weren't actively looking for a new or they didn't there was no need to. They had a team. They had just done very well. Um, we could kind of see why Jennifer was doing it. It's that the perception was that Kathy was not going to be figuring too prominently a lot longer. Although, interestingly, here she still is 10 years later. She
As a
was there
coach.
this week as a coach, but she still figures.
Mhm.
And but I think the real reason that we speculated, and I think we're right, is that Caitlin Laws was going to become a huge threat in Manitoba. Get her on your
Mhm.
side before she starts beating you.
Yeah, like it
And
happened. Actually, I saw on Reddit someone because they were talking about the Jones Homan game, and so Jones won, and so Lisa was like kind of pretty happy about it, which of course, you
Hmm.
go girl, like rub it in their faces. Um, and so someone linked that game versus Jones versus Kathy O at the Scotties. This was back in 2011.
Yeah, oh
It's been
my God.
10 years.
I
Can you
remember that
believe
like it
it?
was yesterday. 10 years.
Yeah,
Wow.
but you're right. Like Caitlin Laws had just aged out of juniors. She won 2 junior championships titles, and
Yeah, and we found that awkward and kind of maybe
but
borderline
to be
like wrong, but
but
we
to be
see why
fair,
she did it. Yeah.
I think I'm sorry, Kathy, but I think it was a good move on Jones's part.
Oh, I know. Like it's no one will argue with that. Was it the ethical thing to do? I mean, I have a hard time with that part because I mean, it's easy to make a change and get rid of your friend and longtime teammate when the results are not great. If you
Hmm.
tell me like Rob, our analytics suck, I need to find a better co-host. I get it.
Yeah.
It's not like we're the world's top podcast, although we really should be. But that's the part that I think was awkward with that is that they were really pretty much on top of the world. There was no need to make a change. So the timing was really awkward, although history will show it was not a bad decision at all. Whereas here, I mean, this was completely out of left field. There must have been something because why would you get rid of the world's best lead
Hmm.
and replace her with somebody who, don't get me wrong, is an incredible curler, but has never been a lead before in
Well,
Joanne
Joanne
Courtney
is
Friday.
lead now. Yeah.
Yeah, but she was a long time third, second. I mean, it's a totally different position for her to play. Colleen Jones said it best.
I do have to say though, she is like a fantastic sweeper. I like when I was
Oh yeah,
watching their
you want her on
games,
the
like
front end, but the
yeah,
throwing, like the tick shots. I mean, the tick shot is pretty much named after Lisa.
that's true. It's true. And so, you know what? I think we'll never really get the answer we want on this whole situation. I hope maybe 10 years down the line, one of them is going to write a memoir. I'll read it and I hope that they talk about it,
That's right.
there's
That's
kind of
another thing.
like the statute of limitations has passed and we
Yes.
can just talk about it.
That'll be another. Last week we talked about season 10 of our podcast and how we'll finally
Mhm.
unveil who the best curler of all time is by then, and we will hopefully have all the deets on what went down between these two teams. Oh, and by the way, speaking of the best curler of all time, or we're doing this for women's now. I think we both got it wrong. We
Okay.
made cases for Jennifer, Colleen, Jones, Sandra Schmerler, and Caitlin Laws, but you know who we completely forgot?
Who?
Shannon Burchard.
Okay.
You're looking at me all weird, but
It's a name that like I don't think anyone but
here's
explain to
why,
me.
though. I
Give
have
me
a
a
good
reason.
reason. Because if
Okay.
she wins tonight, we're recording this the afternoon before the final between Einerson and
Mhm.
Homan. If she wins tonight, she will have been to 3 Tournament of Hearts and won all of them.
Oh, she's a 3
She's
for 3 record.
she's batting 1,000 because her first appearance was when she filled in for Caitlin when she was at the mixed doubles in the Olympics. So she was playing with Jennifer Jones. They won the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Then she made it back last year playing with Einerson. They won the whole thing. And now here she
Uh-huh.
is again in the final. If they win tonight, she is batting 1,000 in the Tournament of Hearts. Just saying,
Wow.
you want her on your team.
Okay.
That's all I can say.
Well, I think if you want I think the lesson to be learned here is if you want to be a successful curler, you have to move to Manitoba if you're
Well,
female.
yes, and then go through like 5 really good caliber teams.
That's true. Or you
By
just
the
get
way,
on one of
Shannon,
them
yeah,
and
and Shannon Burchard, let's give her credit, has the most unique delivery of anybody in this Tournament of
true
Hearts. I don't
Manitoba
know what's
tuck.
going on with that delivery, but like the tuck and how she like cranks the rock back and then turns it. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
how horrendously I would miss a shot if I tried to emulate that.
Well, you know what? This is one thing we say or we talk about at curling courses, like the clinics where you teach like people who are just getting into the sport, like greens, 1 to 3 years experience. Um, and there's always a section where we talk about delivery, and like there is a standard delivery that you teach, but we also make the argument that like everyone has their own style. And you know what? If you find something that works for you, if you're making 90% of the shots and you're coming out sliding backwards, like Go for it, you know? At the end of the day, if you're making your shots, stick with it. If you're not making your shots, well, then we have corrections to make. But yeah, works
Yeah,
for
you
her.
can't argue with success.
You go, girl.
Yeah. The other player that reminds me of is Mark Kennedy, and how, I
Mhm.
mean, what a good curler, but when he
He has
does
a
his
really
backswing,
low.
yeah, he
Mhm.
goes really low, and with his I'm assuming he still does this, but his backswing, he would take his slider foot and bring it behind his foot in the
Yeah,
hack, and I'm just thinking if I did that, I'd be so twisted all over the place.
but they used to teach that. I remember when I was first starting out at juniors, when I was like, I don't know, 12?
Really?
Yeah, the whole, like, C thing, and then they told us not to do the C thing because when you the momentum of bringing your foot back can cause you to lose your line because your
Yeah.
foot is dragging your body, like, outside.
Oh, for me, they were always like, never move your slider foot. Like, you move it
Oh,
back an inch. Like, they've never told me
no.
to.
Okay, so really, I've been told so many things, and I've kind of found one thing and stuck to it and told everyone else, like, I'm not doing that because you haven't switched as many teams as I have. Um,
Oh, maybe that's
but
it.
I've gone through quite a few coaches. They all explained they all said different things, and I was like, no, thank you. But I've gone through the C. I've gone through bringing your foot back and do the weight transfer,
Hmm.
which again now don't do that. And then after the weight transfer, it was just bring your foot back. And now the slide that I do is just don't move your foot at all. Just bring it to the front,
Yeah.
which is what you should aim
I
for.
think the reason that they did this for us is that being well, I'm going to be a little sexist here, but being guys, we all wanted to throw a lot of weight.
Hmm.
And when we were really young and not really able to do that, a lot of clubs that we went to had the hack maybe like a foot away from the boards. So if you swung your leg back, you could kick off the backboard.
Yeah.
And
There
so
were
I
some
think
clubs
that's
that were
why they were
really
like,
close.
no, keep your foot right there. And now the funny thing is that you have to keep your foot back there, because we've been to a few clubs where it's like Mark Kennedy wouldn't be able to curl there. There is no space behind the hack.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but I guess speaking about if we go back to the best curler of all time, um, I guess it's kind of more favorable if you're a skip because everyone just thinks about the skip, and
Mm,
when you're thinking about records and championships won and everything, because you go by the skip's last name, you just think, oh, like Jones won all of these
yeah.
titles, but
One
like
thing we can agree is the best last name to have as a curler is Jones.
exactly. But like Jones, like say Jones won 6 Scotties and she'll always be remembered for that. But like Donna McEwen or Donna Askin, she was part of Jones's team for those 6 wins. But no one's gonna be like,
No,
oh,
no, no, she
Dawn is
wasn't.
the
No,
best.
she wasn't.
No,
Not
she
for
wasn't
all. No, not for.
for a majority of them.
I think for four of them. The first one was with Kathy Gauthier. The second one, maybe she was on it by then. Let me. Let's just.
Because she was on it before Caitlin Laws came on board.
Yes, that is true. Let's just do a little quick research here.
Okay, but still, all that to say, like she's won. If you
But
take
she's.
Dawn McEwen, she's
Mhm.
won many titles. She has an Olympic gold medal. Like she's done all these things with Jones. Yet Dawn is probably not going to be a name that comes up in
Yeah, you're right.
this. You know?
Yeah, so she won the second. She was, or Jones's second Tournament of Hearts. She was on that team. I got it
Okay.
mixed up because she was then Dawn Askin.
Yeah, because she married Mike McEwen.
There we go.
There we go. Just the rest of the provinces should adopt the Quebec method of keeping your maiden name.
Oh, I
Make
know, it's
things
so
so
hard
much
to follow.
simpler.
It's so hard
Yeah.
to follow.
All right. So, do you have any other parting thoughts for
Yeah,
this week's?
I do.
Go for it.
I have a major complaint about the
Okay.
tournament, and it's not commercial related. I mean, we've gone through all of that.
Is
We've
it
done our.
fashion related?
No, I'm pretty happy with the retro sweaters, as we've been saying. Um, I have noticed that this is a real problem this week. Maybe it's because there's no crowd noise, but I have never heard so much. You got this. You got this. Somebody gets in the hack, like, okay, I need to draw it around here and hit the pin and hope this curls 12 feet through a port that's. You got this. No problem. You got this. It drives me crazy.
It's a very female thing to do, I think. I don't think we're gonna hear it as much during
At
the
the
Briar.
Briar?
Yeah, guys aren't all like live, laugh, love, you got this type of thing.
Not this guy anyway.
I
You've curled
know.
with me. I don't say you got this. It's usually more like, hey, try getting it in play for once. I'm kidding. I don't say that. I have
Please,
said to
thank
you
you.
before, like, trust it, Kel, but as a
Oh,
joke.
as a joke. Oh, I think trust it is the worst. The
Yeah.
worst.
And I do. I mean,
Like I have said you got this a couple times. I'm guilty of this.
yeah, and we've both coached, and I think there's something to be said for that because anything I think I've probably said this before, but anything that makes you more comfortable with what is a really elaborate and complicated uh, process, which is the delivery of a curling rock, if it's not a good thing to think about when you're about to throw a winning shot of, oh my god, all the things I have to do right here. So if you can get somebody to remind you that, like, hey, you know how to do this, just go and do it.
Mhm.
There's a lot to be said for that. So I kind of, the coach in me likes it, but the fan in me is like, oh my god, can we find something else to say? Can one of you just
Yeah,
say, try not to screw this up like you did the last one? How about some brutal honesty?
that's true. But one thing I've learned is some people cannot handle brutal honesty or the more like sarcastic. Um, I remember one. I'm not gonna name names here, but I remember one game we played. And we had the game won, and there was an easy or I didn't say we had it won, but we were on track to winning this game. Anyways, we came to a critical situation, and the player had to put a guard up, and they called a timeout, and the coach came out, and like she was thinking of another shot, but it was clearly you had to put the guard up. The coach was like, you got to put a guard up. But like it was one of those shots that you couldn't miss because if you missed it, it really went downhill.
Hmm.
And so the coach was like, don't like you play the guard, but whatever you like, I want you to, or I don't say I want to play the guard, like you should probably play the guard, but whatever you do decide to play, like don't miss it. And of course she missed it.
Great
And
advice.
but, like, for someone like me and probably you too, like, that wouldn't affect me, but after
But
that
I
whole
can see.
game,
Yeah.
like, if you have a certain personality, that whole game is like, "Why did you tell me you shouldn't miss? It got into my head that I couldn't miss," and of course, if you get, like, "I can't miss" in your head, you're gonna miss more
Yeah, you've
often
got
than
to think
not.
of a positive way to frame the shot, and
Mhm.
which is something that I guess I've gotten okay at because I've coached for a few years, so I've kind of figured out a way to keep things positive when really I'm trying to give the implication that, oh boy, you better not be outside here, but
Yeah.
without saying it like that, just saying things like, yeah, as long as we're on the inside, we're fine.
Yeah, but some people can like, some people are okay with, that tough love of, like, "You gotta make this, if not, we're screwed," you know?
I know, I'm not just because if you said that to me, I would start laughing. Uh, but that's why we don't play competitively. It's more fun to like taunt your teammates this way. But
Yeah.
yeah, I to me, I heard it so much this week that I feel like even the part of me that's defending it makes me think that it must have lost its meaning.
Mhm.
That
Oh, for
if
sure. It's more of a ritual because like that's also a thing that we teach people in the delivery
yeah,
is
make
like
it
you always
routine.
yeah like the whole and not just your actual delivery, but the whole process of like getting your rock ready, cleaning the rock. What are you thinking about? What are you visualizing? And like from that point where it's you're getting ready to shoot till you end the shot,
Hmm.
it should be um like so repetitive. So I think it kind of um
Yeah, which is why they do it. But
we're running long here, so I'll keep this short. But even when I was skipping and I'd come down and it had a draw to throw, I'd always ask like, "What's the weight?" or "Is the weight the same?" But like, I didn't care for the answer. Like, I knew what I was gonna throw. It was just kind of like that second reassurance, or I don't know what it was. It was just a thing that I did. Like, "What's the weight? How's the weight?" And but I was still gonna throw what I knew I had to throw. Um,
oh, really? You weren't taking their input of like,
No. Or if they say like, "Oh my god, it's, like, really changed," then, like, okay, I'll adapt. But, if you're in the 8th then you should kinda know what the weight is.
yeah, that's true.
So it was just more of a I don't know, it's just a
And I think, yeah, which
psychological
is
thing.
totally fair because at the
Yeah.
level we always played at, we were never playing with, no disrespect to our ex teammates, but we were never really playing with people that were timing every single path and could come to us and say, you got to throw 3 feet more like they do on TV. Like it was just,
Mhm.
Did you notice any big gashes in the ice or anything like that?
Yeah, but even then, like, I don't even if I were to, let's say, go back to competitive play, like, I would not follow a stopwatch as closely as maybe some other people do. I think if you really wanna be good at drawing or be, like, a good soft shot player, you have to just have go with feeling and
Yeah.
feel the rock and not the time.
I
There's a
agree.
quote for you.
I agree. I am I'm anti stopwatch or
Yeah,
sort
use
of.
the stopwatch as a guide, like, initial, like, "Hey, what's the ice?" And then see, like, is the ice changing? But,
Right.
like,
But you
don't
know
use
what?
the
Yeah.
don't use the excuse, and I've seen this happen a lot in juniors where, "Well, the sweepers told me it was 3-5, so I threw
Oh,
3-5
come
and it
on.
ended up in the back house." Like, no.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, if I were a coach, I'd be like, "Snap out of it, girl." Like, that's not an excuse.
I agree. That's one thing is that uh or one of the reasons I've never wanted to adopt the stopwatch or very strongly anyway is the feeling that I might get too dependent on it, but also
Mhm.
that again, we've curled with some pretty good curlers, but are any of us so mechanically perfect that you can read into the times that we get? I
Exactly.
don't really think so.
I think the error bar is quite high on stopwatch.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, even in our highest or our best shot making days, which
oh, but
a
even
long time behind me. No, but like we all do it. We all extend. We
mhm.
all pull back. We all use the bathroom. We all have, sorry.
But even if you take 2 sweepers, like, how many times like, you'd after sweeping a rock, you kinda compare your times or whatnot, and they were never exactly alike. Like, one
No.
may get 3-5, the other one may get 3-6 or 3-5-5 or something.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Or in my case, whoops, I didn't get a reading.
yeah, that too.
That was the most
Like,
common thing
he
with me.
wasn't running the whole time.
Like, oh look, I'm at 2 minutes and 48 seconds. Something's gone wrong.
It's true.
Hey, one more question though on the
Yeah.
you got this before we wrap this up, because it kind of reminds me of it. Are you a high fiver? Like, do you are that's the other thing I see teams high fiving all the time. I get it after you make a shot, but when you come down and you haven't even thrown yet, high five, high five.
Oh, okay. No,
Miss the shot, high five, high five.
I hate the high five pre-shot, or the one thing I'll accept is, the low five, the, like, or the skipper coming down, and even then, sometimes it's, like, a 5 and the other one gets, like, your hand with the broom kinda thing.
Hmm.
I'll kinda let that slide. The other thing I'm okay with is you've done the shot and you're passing the sweepers on your way back down, a little high five, but not a high five, like a low five, like a we're
Right, like
tapping
a
our
barely
hands.
visible one.
Exactly, same thing with, like, the third. And then post end, yeah, unless it was a really good end, like you stole or you the end wasn't shaping up well and you kinda made it out alive, then okay, but yeah, we see that a lot in juniors, they're really high five happy or, like, fist bump happy.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
won't last after COVID.
No. That's a good thing for COVID. No, I think, yeah, there's no need for it, really.
No, I agree. And after missing shots, that's where I'm like, okay,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, good. Keep your morale up, but
Mm.
I don't know. Doesn't
Again, I
work.
think
Doesn't do it for me.
it comes down to, like, a more psychological thing.
Yeah. I just thought it was a good question because I don't really have any strong thoughts on it, but I've spoken to people before who really, really hate it. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe it's because 'cause we're players and we're used to it, we, like, just don't think of it
Yeah.
as much as maybe someone who's watching on TV. I don't know. Let us know your thoughts at,
Yeah.
behindthetee.podcast@gmail.com or on Instagram at
That's right.
behindthetee.curling. Alright, so to wrap up this episode, Rob, the final, Homan versus Einerson, I think we had both said Homan at the start of this week. Are you still keeping your choice, or do you wanna switch to Einerson?
Oh my God. What a question to spring on me. I am going to say that Rachel Homan and Randy Furby are going to be the Tom Brady and Bill Belichick of curling. And
Yes.
so there's our weekly football reference. And so,
Mhm.
I mean, I could see it going either way, to be totally honest. It
Same.
should be actually a good game, but I'll say Homan. What the hell? I'll stick by
Yeah,
her.
I'll stick by her as well. I won't. Let's keep our predictions. Let's not change
Okay.
them.
And it's official. Einerson wins.
At the same time, there's a little part of me that kind of wants Einerson to win just to have that trivia fact that she's the only team who's won back to back, like not just
Who's
twice,
never
back to
been
back,
to the Worlds.
who's never been to the Worlds. Like she never had the chance to represent Canada on the world stage, which is kind of fun. It's not funny. It really sucks, but it's kind of funny at the same time because
Although
you have
maybe
to
they'll
laugh about
reschedule it.
something.
Yeah, they mentioned today, like, here's what the winner gets and an appearance at the 2021 Worlds in brackets if rescheduled. So maybe, hopefully, like
Oh,
in August or something, because I felt they should have
like
done
a
this with last
September
year.
type of.
Is just, yeah, like the numbers hopefully are going to go down, or they should kind of. I mean, who knows with these variants, but the numbers should dip in the summer as vaccines roll out, and it's summer like it did last year. Can you just get a curling club somewhere, fly all the teams? You don't even need to televise it. I mean, who cares? And just
Yeah,
declare their world championship. I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't be that much fun for the players, and is it even worth it for them? I don't know. But
I don't know. You say worth it. I mean, look at how many teams are willing to go into the Calgary bubble for this. Like, I think it would be the same situation for the world. So stay tuned. If there is a world, we'll be breaking that news as soon as we hear. If not, well, that's it for this week. And catch us next week where we'll start talking about the Briar.
yes, enjoy the commercials that air between now and then.
God. All right. Bye.